On this week's episode of the Crushing Debt Podcast, Lessons to My Younger Self. So, welcome back to this week's episode. My name is Shawn Yesner, owner and founder of Yesner Law, and with me, as always, is your financial coach, my co-host, George Corbello. How you doing, George?
How are you, my friend? I'm all right. I'm doing okay, man. I just, we have school starting in the area, so we got kids back to school. It's that back to school flavor right now, so it's been a lot of that going on. So a lot of driving and buses and all that good stuff. So just be cautious on the road. It's kind of crazy out there.
Yeah, we just got our school schedule. We just got our soccer practice schedule.
Oof.
I've got between now and the middle of October, we've got our tutoring schedule for our upcoming bar mitzvah.
Nice.
We've got what else? We've got our Cub Scout schedule is now out. So I'm feeling the
overwhelming.
So are you familiar with the DISC assessment?
Yeah.
The personality behavioral style assessment.
Yep.
So I am a high C
Okay.
on that assessment, which there's also a corresponding room full of referrals assessment, which they call it an examiner, which means I'm very, very, very detail oriented. Everything needs to be in its. I mean, I've got a wall calendar. I've got an electronic calendar. I even like walked through like Target and Walmart when we were doing our school shopping, and I was like, I should get one of those big notebooks that's like a handwritten calendar on top of
Oh my goodness.
the wall
dude.
calendar, the phone calendar, this calendar, that calendar. I love my calendars.
Yeah.
So now that I've got all that stuff all in the calendar and I know what my life is going to look like, I feel better.
There you go. What's that ease? Are you a lawyer? I figured the attention to detail there. It kind of plays into the everyday life as well.
Some people call it anal retentive. I call it attention to detail.
I love it. Hey, you know what? It's a good resume grabber. The other way around.
So it helps me with my attention. to detail.
I think you're gonna tell me it's some magic mind. Is that what we're thinking here?
Yeah, I love my magic mind.
Took my shot. I'm feeling good. It's like I said, it's good. Tastes good. Goes down easy. I have to say, the big thing for me is I'm not always like, how do I feel? Well, how do I feel? But I feel good.
Yeah.
It's one of those kind of things. It's just that focus, the being able to really focus on and have the attention that's needed for the task at hand. So that seems to what I do like that feeling, and I do enjoy the energy, the little bit of energy that's needed to be able to kind of do that focus. So I love that.
That's what I do on days when I know are going to be a little bit more hectic, or days that I know I'm going to need to focus a little bit more than normal. I make sure I take my magic mind shot with my coffee in the morning. It doesn't. It doesn't really. Yeah, it doesn't conflict or interact or add to the caffeine boost that I get from coffee. It just sort of goes right on top of it, and yeah, helps me focus. Tastes good. It's a little shot.
I would recommend it.
Yeah, if you want to try out Magic Mind, you can go to magicmind.com, put in /crushing20, which is also the code. That'll get you 20% off your first order, and it will support us as well. So thank you, Magic Mind, for being a friend, being a sponsor on the show. But what are we talking about today? Lessons to my younger self.
Well, as we go into another new school year and start to reflect on how old, well, I am. I'm not going to say you are, but,
You're really old.
we old. But it's one of those kind of things, like, as adults, we learn some lessons, as we grow older, and like, oh my goodness, being an adult doesn't have all its perks. It has some benefits, but it doesn't have all its perks. So, I mean, and obviously there's a lot that's related to money when we talk about trying to crush debt each day, right? But then there's also like kind of that look back. Man, I wish I knew. We hear that very common as we get older. We reminisce on, like, if I just did this differently, if I managed this differently, if I said something differently. That's where kind of our focus is today. Kind of like more of like, okay, what are some of those things that we would say? And then, of course, there's opportunities. We do. Last time I checked, we do have kids. What kind of lessons would we want to tell? Because, again, what do you want to tell yourself if you had the opportunity? But, again, what are you telling your kids as we start to grow older here?
So, it's an interesting topic for me for two reasons. I think what you said there at the end was, what lessons have I learned that I would teach my kids?
Right.
Part of me thinks I wouldn't be who I am today without the lessons that I went through earlier.
Of course.
So would
you be the same person is the question. Yeah.
Would you want to go back in time and teach yourself these lessons or give yourself these lessons? Or is this something where we just want to, this is what we want to pass on to our kids? I don't know.
Here's the thing. I think you're right. Sometimes the struggle, having the hustle, having the drive gets you. If you weren't in that situation, let's say with money or the struggle you may have had or the lessons you may have not learned, would it be that drastic? Would you be that big of a difference of a person if that was the case? For me, it'd be like, well, hey, dude, just save a little bit more or invest a little bit more here. Or, hey, that house, I remember when I was kind of younger as well, like that house you thought you couldn't afford, back then from that initial investment, maybe you should have kind of gone into it instead of saying like, oh, rent is great. Rent is we can rent forever. No big deal. It's just those little tweaks. It's like, I wish I could have just made that, that investment in Apple.
I think for me, it would have been, don't buy that ring for that woman. And I'm not talking about Melanie.
Right,
I'm not talking about my wife. I'm talking about the
first one,
the couple that I dated before her. That it would have been save the money, don't buy the ring. Although interestingly, and I don't know if I'm sure I've told this story. I don't know if I've ever told it on the podcast before, but buying the ring for some girl that I'm glad I never married or proposed to was actually how I got my watch. My nice expensive watch. So that might be a story for another day.
There's a good trade-off there. And that's the other. I mean, that's another lesson as an adult as well. Is society is going to tell you what you think you should be spending. So how much would you spend on on a ring? Well, you're supposed to be. It's 3 months, right? 3 months salary, or this and this and that. I'm like, well, but if she loves me. And we love each other itself. Does it matter?
I would agree with 3 months' salary, but at the time I buy the ring, I'd work at McDonald's, spend 3 months' salary, then get a better job,
then go become a lawyer again. Gotcha.
3 months' salary.
But those are the lessons. I think for me, the biggest thing that as an adult that I've learned is very easy that lifestyle. Like you are always chasing the better lifestyle. Like I wish we had more. I wish, wow, the neighbors can do that. Why can't I? I feel like we're always chasing happiness or chasing that, like, ooh, I should be living like the Kardashians. That's the lifestyle I want to be on a McDonald's, salary. Oops, so that's a hard lesson to get as we get a little older too.
Yeah, not keeping up with the Joneses. What's interesting is, that's the same kind of lesson that I think I would teach my younger self is it's not always important to necessarily keep up with the Joneses. And one of the things I'm thinking, especially now that we're still kind of slowly going through the house and making changes now that it's the three of us instead of the four of us, but it seems to have reinvigorated, revitalized my attachment, my pride in my house. Not that I didn't have it before.
Yeah, it's just a different.
But it's changing up the house. And so now when we go over to somebody else's house and we're like, oh, this house is so awesome. Sometimes by just making a small tweak or change at my own house, I get that same feeling about my house, and now I don't have to keep up with the Joneses anymore.
Makes sense.
So
no, I mean you touched upon it a little bit too. Is as we get older too, tomorrow's not guaranteed. And that's the other thing tomorrow we'll get to, or I'll make the change. We'll do this differently tomorrow. And you don't realize that, there's not an endless supply of tomorrows from that standpoint too. So you just got to, seize the day.
You ever see that meme on social media? It says, I was going to procrastinate today, but I'll save it for tomorrow. Sorry, you get bad dad jokes on the podcast.
You get no, they're all good. They're all good itself.
But yeah, no, I mean definitely there's it has caused a new perspective in my life about, you're right, tomorrow's never promised. You don't know what's going to happen day to day. And so on the one hand, there have been times where I've said I wouldn't normally buy something, but I have the money to do it.
Correct.
And I know that tomorrow's not promised, so okay,
Just enjoy the experience.
enjoy it and buy
Yep.
it. At the same time, don't go nuts.
Correct.
You don't have to buy that brand new sports car.
Yeah.
But you could make a small change, to this, that, the other thing. The other thing it has kind of caused a change in me, and I've always been kind of fun loving, but things in my life that I'm starting to cut out are things that are no longer fun for me.
Really? Okay. What's that?
Florida
State football?
No. I'm doubling down on FSU football.
Gotcha.
But I've been volunteering for my HOA for the last 6 years now. I've been volunteering for the HOA.
That's about 6 years too long.
Yeah.
But okay, gotcha.
And there are a whole bunch of reasons that I did it.
Of course.
But the elections are coming up. A couple weeks after, probably about a month after this podcast episode comes out, the elections will be coming up, and I've decided not to run because it's just not fun anymore to be
value?
on the HOA board.
Makes sense.
It has value. It has value for the community. I feel like I'm doing good for the community.
Sure.
I feel like I'm making a positive impact in the community. I feel like I'm setting a positive example for my kids and interacting with the community.
True. Okay.
But at the end of the day, it's just not fun anymore.
Okay.
So I don't want to do it anymore.
Okay.
It's time to move on. It's time to let some new blood come in and run the association how they think the association should be run.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily for me anymore. But that has definitely, what I went through with my wife has definitely caused me to take a different look at what's going on in my life and what do I want to do and where. We went to Busch Gardens before school started.
Right.
Because, let's go ride some roller coasters and have some fun. It's a Sunday. We got nothing going on.
Right.
School starts tomorrow. Let's go have some fun.
You paid for those free passes you got.
And I had to pay for the free passes. And I think I got out of Busch Gardens this time all in for like $100.
Okay, so that's that.
I brought the refillable water bottles, so I had to pay a few bucks to get the free refills all day. And then I bought lunch. And then I think I let my kids play one or two of the carnival games.
There you go.
And so it was about $100.
So you had a good time.
Yeah.
Obviously, the sting of the first visit, but at least now you get to take advantage of these, the next few visits as well. Okay.
And apparently, Montu is one of my older son's now favorite roller coasters.
Well, my daughter loves that one as well.
Loves
so
Montu.
It's not too aggressive, but it has enough force.
I think we counted. It's got like 6 inversions.
Yeah. But
so
they say, hey,
I like it too.
If you like it, I'm on the sidelines drinking my little frozen Coke, so I'm good.
That'll be my son. So meanwhile, getting back to the topic at hand.
Oh, wait, what? Okay.
What are some other lessons that you would either teach your younger self or lessons that maybe I should be teaching my kids?
So, I mean, the other thing that we've noticed, and I think we understand there's costs associated with living, right? But you don't realize when you're younger how high those costs are. The cost of living, dude, it's rent and electrical and groceries and insurance and all this adulting. It just costs a lot of money. You don't realize that until you actually get out into the real world. For me, that's a big shock.
Yeah.
When we talk about that.
I just paid $650 this week. I paid $650. I paid about $150 because we just had a couple weeks ago the tropical storm / Hurricane Debbie come through.
Yep.
All it did really for me was dump a bunch of
a lot of water.
rain.
We had a lot of water.
It wasn't really a big
no
event.
leaks in the house. Woohoo!
The brand new house.
Yeah, dude. There were people in the community complaining. It's
Wow.
like there was leaks through this and leaks through that. I was looking but I got I'm good with rain and no water in the house.
Nice.
We are winning.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
But so one of the things that Hurricane Debbie showed me was that my gutters were all clogged up. My rain gutters.
Gotcha.
So I had a guy come out, $150, a company. If you're in the Tampa Bay area, I can connect you. But he came out, $150. He cleaned out my gutters. But you know what he cleaned out of my gutters?
Oh no. What animal did you find?
Not animal. 7 different size sports balls that my kids had thrown up into the gutters that had clogged up the gutters.
I guess that would clog up the gutters.
Yeah.
Okay.
When there's a tennis ball stuck in the downspout, the gutter tends to leak in other places.
Whoops.
So that was $150. And then our garage door stop working. It wouldn't go up and down.
Gotcha.
And so they came out and they basically, and this was one of those, this could be one of those decisions that you're looking at, what should you do? And the guy said to me, look, it'd be $200. I can get it working again, but it's probably going to break soon after that. Or $500, I replace the whole system and it'll work great for years and years and years.
There you go.
And so, it was a 15-year-old garage door opener system. Do you want to plunk $200 in it now and $100 in it, 6 months from now,
just replace.
or just replace the whole thing and
Yeah.
get a new warranty and the whole 9 yards.
Yep.
So I did that, and it's actually pretty cool. It put an app on my cell phone where I can control the garage door.
Wi-Fi enabled. Look at
And-
you coming
and so-
to the 21st century.
Yeah. Well, like a moron, I put that on my older son's phone. And I'm
Okay.
like, it was funny. The last couple of days, I'll put the garage door up and I'll get a text from my son. Did you open the garage door? Because it's got the alert that notifies him on it.
Ay, ay, ay.
Ay, ay,
Well,
ay.
that's a good point too. That you can tell your younger self is unexpected expenses. There's so many kind of emergency expenses that come up. Housing changes, things like that. Emergencies for medical. I just, dude. So again, I have a car that's not new. So I do have a you call it a Ramsey approved car. It's like 20 years old. Got it to the mechanic because there was some leaks. All right. It turned into from, again, gaskets to the leaks in the oil pan he had to replace. The air conditioning wasn't working. So he had to, again, there was a refresh there. There was, as you could tell, he kept going into the engine pieces and and it just kept, like, oh, here's another problem. Here's another problem. So I had budgeted $800. I was like, okay, $800 reasonable. Didn't get out of there a week later. Again, the truck was with him for a week because it was just like, okay, $1,800 after that. So unfortunately, that was another reality of emergencies, that come out of nowhere and you just they're going to come up.
Well, but at the same time, so the lesson that I think I would take from there, I financed my car and I'm just bought it 6 to 8 months ago, something like that.
Yep.
And I pay about $500 a month. So when I get to the point that I pay off the loan and I stop making payments, I may still want to put aside $100 or $200 a month.
That's correct.
So that when that $1,800, I'm able to put $400 back in my budget. If I was paying $500 and now I'm just going to set aside $100, kind of the envelope system that we've talked about before. So
a little maintenance account. And that was the other thing. Again, it hurt to write a check for $1,800, but there was no debt involved. It was basically money. It was cash. Now I'm in the process of replenishing the emergency fund because I know it is a 20-year-old car. There is inevitably something else. He did say you'll get at least another year, and I'm like, that's fantastic. Do you think I can get another 100,000 miles? He went, no. He's like, no. You won't get another 100,000 miles, but you'll get at least another year. So I was like, sold.
Right.
No car payments for another year. I am in good, and the AC's working. Let's go.
Well, and I think so one of these articles that we found about what lessons would you teach your younger self, one of them is be intentional in your money decisions.
Yeah.
So be intentional. I've got to replace the garage door opener if I want to be able to get in and out of my garage. Am I going to just put a patch on it, or am I going to bite the bullet and put replace it, but I won't have to deal with it for another however many years? Am I going to just patch the issue with the car? Am I going to buy a new car?
Right.
How much longer is it going to, be intentional is, I think, what I would want to, what I'm trying to even teach my kids about their money decisions. They're now joking with me because we'll be out somewhere, the mall, whatever. And my kids will say, "Daddy, can we get a," and before they finish the sentence, the other one will say, "Have you brought your green light card? How much is on your green light card?"
That's it.
So it's kind of teaching that be intentional in your money decisions.
I do that with my kids as well. It's kind of like, well, how much do you have? That's my response. Like, how much do you have? And is it worth spending the money for it as well? You have to, because we get into that needs and wants kind of discussion, and you also get into like what value are you just buying something because you're here? Because again, it's that impulse buy. Like, oh, I'm here, I should buy it, right? Because I'm never going to be back here again, even though I'm probably going to be in the mall again next week. So it's one of those kind of things. It's just teaching them to kind of be in those situations and kind of like, oh, what should I not, that kind of thing.
Well, one of the things, I think I told this story a couple weeks ago when I was at Disney, there was a shirt that I
Right.
wanted. And I said, I'll be able to get it at another store at another day. And I couldn't find that shirt after that one day. So on the one hand, I lost out on having the shirt. On the other hand, I probably saved like
You saved, yeah.
$30,
That's-
40, whatever
that's
the
a-
cost of the shirt would
But
have been.
are you okay today without the shirt? Are you?
I am actually wearing a
You're
shirt
surprised?
right now, so I did have other shirts in my closet to make up for
I
the
think-
one I did not buy.
And that's the idea too. Is kind of like, hey guys, it's not the end of the world if you don't make the purchase. It's not the end of the world if you don't do something and somebody else has done it or anything like that. So once again, don't chase the hug around from someone else. Don't chase the Joneses. And again, don't chase happiness when it comes to spending itself. I think that biggest lessons I would tell my younger self, and trying to teach my kids that.
Yeah, well, and what we've been talking about, have a plan, have a budget.
Budget is important.
Yeah, if I'm gonna get rid of this $500 car payment, how does that impact my budget? What can I do with it? Maybe I because I'm in the habit of paying $500 to the car creditor every month, maybe I still take that $500 and automatically send it out of my bank account into my savings account.
Right.
Or I send it out of my bank account to pay off a credit card or to pay off we just finished paying off our air conditioning unit. We just finished paying off the dining room table. My kids are already saying, I want a new dresser. We need a new couch for the living room.
Rooms to go.
So I'm like, okay, thanks, Synchrony. I'll be back. But when I get rid of this payment, I'm already used to spending it. It's already
Right.
in the budget. So can I take and repurpose that money for something else? Maybe I go from a $200 minimum payment on the air conditioning unit to a $100 minimum payment on a couch.
Right.
On a new couch, and I take the other $100 and I throw it to savings or I throw it to other debt.
See, and that's the other thing too. We're not in this position where debt is bad, right? I think you have to, again, leveraging debt can help you to make those types of purchases that's needed. I think what gets us into trouble is we rely too heavily on credit cards and debt when it comes to the lifestyle that we're trying to live. And at the same time, we're living above the means. So it's so simple, right? Don't spend more money than you make.
Right.
And yet that seems to be what gets us into trouble most of the time. And I think that's another lesson I would always tell myself, and obviously telling the kids. It's like, well, if you don't have the money, save for it. But it's it doesn't mean let's rely on credit to go make that purchase that you're looking for.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine this morning, and he said he has 3 credit cards. He was active duty military. Now he's reserve duty military. All 3 of the cards, I guess, under I forget exactly what it's called. I think it's the Service Members Civil Relief Act. It's also, I've heard it referred to as the Soldiers and Sailors Act. But it requires that credit card companies limit the amount of interest that they're allowed to charge on credit card purchases to something low, like 6%, 8%, something really, really low. And so he was getting that low rate on 3 of his cards. Well, when he left active duty, one of the cards continued at like 4%. The other 2 jumped up. What, us civilians would pay 20%. And so he came to me and he said, well, should I consolidate into the 4% card? I said, it's a great idea if, and then what you can do is kind of restructure your debt so that you're still making the minimum payment, but now it pays it off faster because less of it is interest.
Sure.
But if you're going to do that, take the 2 cards that you've zeroed out and shred them, put them in a drawer.
Right. Don't
put
use
them. Buy a snake and put them in the snake tank so that you don't want to. Do something so that you don't want to touch. And because the worst thing to do is, I took these 2 high balance interest rate cards, I transferred them to a lower card, and then I ran up the high interest rate cards, and I just doubled my debt.
Which is easy to do, and I think for you hit it. You kind of nailed it. It's kind of like, guys, like we get into, when it comes to our money, there's options. Yes, I can do a HELOC. Yes, I can do a consolidation. Yes, I can do 401k. Yes, I can do. But you got to look at all of the options that you have. And then it's the mindset. What's the behaviors that we need to make sure that doesn't get us into a further hole or further situation that could be disastrous later down the road. And I agree with you. I think most of us think like, oh, I will consolidate, I have a lower interest, and then realize like if I keep the other accounts open or I start using them, you'll use them and you'll make the purchases and it gets us into trouble. And again, that's the worst, that you get into more debt, even though you put yourself in a position where you're trying to avoid, the interest that might be tied to the debt.
Right. Well, so, and I found another, so that was one article that we found, and some of the other stuff in here, pay yourself first, which
love
is
that.
always a good idea. Pay off your debt and start saving, which is always a good idea.
That's always a good idea.
Manage credit, which is always a good idea. Enjoy the rewards that your hard work earns.
As an adult, isn't that like you work so hard? Like, what's the experiences? Is it because the numbers is one thing, but what are we enjoying as part of, you work so hard, enjoy the time with family, enjoy the time for yoga, enjoy the time for whatever those kind of things might be.
Right. And it doesn't have to be expensive stuff.
Right.
Enjoy going to Busch Gardens and only spending $100 and having a fun day at Busch Gardens. It doesn't have to be expensive stuff. Enjoy that, we, like I said, we redid one of the rooms in the house. We cleared it out of all the young kid kind of toys.
Yep.
Someone gave me a TV that I put in the room and installed all of our old video game systems.
Yep.
The boys love being in that room, just sitting there playing video games. So it doesn't have to always be, I saved up a bunch of money, so I went out and I bought an expensive whatever.
Got the car, the boat, the blah blah, whatever it might be. I totally agree. I think we get into that motion, kind of in that like, what's the big thing? I need to have this, but I think it still comes back to societal pressures. What are other people doing? We're paying attention too much, and we need to just pay attention to what makes us happy and really just enjoy those and put those into practice. Man, take the time to enjoy those little things.
So here's one that it's 18 things to tell your younger self. And it goes through all kinds of stuff, not just money stuff, but it talks about personal growth. It talks about relationships, choosing your friends wisely.
That's important.
Yeah, that's something that I probably should have learned a while back. Forgive and let go, probably something else I need to learn here.
Yeah, that's a big one. Big one.
Take care of your body, definitely something I can tell you.
As we all get older,
Yeah. Take care of your body. Prioritize your mental health. Important. I've given myself permission. There have been times where I've been here at the office, like, I just can't. I've had my magic mind, but there's something that's preventing me from really focusing. Get up and take a walk.
Yes.
Get up and relax. Now, here within money management, again, it's all the same kind of stuff. Live within your means.
Yes.
So just, one of the lessons that my dad taught me early on, just because you get a raise doesn't mean you have to increase the amount of money you spend on a monthly basis.
Yep.
So live within your means, invest in your future. Don't compare yourself with others. Kind of the normal stuff.
The other thing that I think all of us, financial literacy, like learn about finances as well. What investing? What's the taxes? What does it mean for savings? The skills needed to be able to manage the money. How do I create a budget that works for me? Working with, obviously coaches and people to help you kind of guide you through that. There's so much information that's out there, but I think as a young person, getting information that helps you build a solid foundation that can take you through the rest of your life. That for me is so important, and that goes career-wise. That's skill sets, normal skill sets that you need to live life can obviously be applied when it comes to your money as well. So I so important to take that time.
And I agree, and I read a ton more now than I ever have in my life. I know I didn't read. Even in law school, I didn't read this much, and now it's almost for pleasure. I enjoy reading, and one of the interesting things, talking about your kids, one of the things I realized, my parents never said no to almost any subscription. I mean, obviously, I wasn't like 9 getting a Playboy subscription.
Oh, come on now.
But they I don't think they said no to any. I had a Sports Illustrated subscription. Yep. I had a you remember not the Sports Illustrated, Sporting News?
Yes.
The Sporting News subscription.
Sure.
They used to buy me. So one of the things that I used to do is I'd take like a fantasy book, like a sci-fi book or something, and I'd read it. But as I was reading it, when I would get tired of reading it, I would try to draw the cover. I'd look at the cover and then I'd try to draw it on another page.
Sure.
And they anything that they could do to encourage me to read, they did, and I think that set the foundation for me being able to read now.
Love it.
Anytime my kids have asked for anything,
like a book,
yeah,
that's an easy purchase. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
I bought it.
Can I buy this? Can I get this magazine? Can I look at? I agree with you. I think just you have to foster the skill set to be able to go and read and research, because that's what we encourage people to do, is go and I get we're good at what we do. We're experts in our field, right? We get that, but go and there's tons of books. There's a ton of information. There's a great book called Crushing Debt that you can learn about how to handle your money itself. It's available on Amazon. Go purchase it now. It is
available on Amazon.
So just little things like that allow you to be able to really do the research and take the time to read. But also I think for me, that's a mental break too. You're just sitting there enjoying a book, reading the book for pleasure or for learning. It kind of detaches you from the phone. Like, we're always looking at our phones. We're always it just gives you the opportunity to kind of let your brain kind of focus and learn and do something different.
Yeah, I've been battling insomnia for a while, and I notice, and I know that I shouldn't be surfing on my phone or watching TV right before bed, but I'm human, so give me a break. But I do notice that on days that I read, or on days that I do a lot here at the office, where I'm having to read and focus and write and do all that kind of stuff, it's easier to fall asleep and stay asleep.
Yeah.
So it could just be as simple as, putting the phone down, although last night was a preseason football game. I couldn't turn the TV off.
Gotcha. Okay.
But it might be as simple as turning the TV off and just reading for 30 minutes before. I heard one, I think it was Brian Tracy. I forget who it was, but somebody that was saying if you read for 30 minutes a day is the equivalent of something like 50 books a year.
Nice.
It's some strange whatever.
It's like 10,000 steps a day. It adds a few days on your life. So
exactly.
You got to do those kind of little things to keep you going, keep you healthy. So I love the idea, man.
Here's another article. I know we're getting kind of close to the end, but here's another article. You really don't need that pair of shoes. We've talked about that.
I get that.
Find any way that you can to save. Maybe it's time for another no spend challenge.
I like it. Let's
see.
That's a great idea, because I gotta replenish the emergency fund for from the car car debacle. But yeah,
cook as much as you can. This is an interesting lesson. I mean, I've noticed. So since last year, I think since the first time we did the no spend challenge, however many months ago, I've been bringing my lunch to work nearly every day.
Nice.
And I have noticed that I've saved money by bringing my lunch to work and cooking and not ordering out. Not only is it more healthy, not only am I better able to control what I eat, but I'm saving money because, I can get a meal. I spend, I don't know, let's call it $100 a week on lunchtime type groceries for me and the boys.
Sure.
So you divide that by 3 of us would be $30 a week for the 3 of us, and then you divide that by 5 days a week, $6 a day.
Yeah.
So by buying and making and bringing my lunch, I'm spending on average $6 a day. To go out is 10 to 15
easy each.
Right.
Nah, that's not even like, you're talking, the 3 of you could be $30
right.
every time you go out. So definitely you take advantage of cooking your own meals, prepping your own meals, but it does take time. You have to kind of do some work to cook and get things ready, but
just means I have to wake up earlier.
That's all it is?
It just means I have to wake up a little bit earlier. I have to, as soon as I get home today, take out whatever's going to defrost or take it out the night before.
Right, it's just prep. But you have new routines, new habits in place to allow you to be able to save that money and put that time into the effort for those. These are the little changes you got to make.
Here's another interesting one. If you don't have the cash for something, you can't afford it.
That's a common. I mean, that's so easy to think.
I'll still put it on the credit card, but I know I'm going to pay off the credit card at the end of the month. I've still got the cash. I'm going to spend it later.
See, that's the discipline, I think, is the biggest thing right now. It's the industry with buy now, pay later. Don't worry about it. That's a later kind of thing. I think we've got to go back to like, here's my income, here's what my expenses are. Live within those means. If you can afford it, that means you have the cash set aside in your budget. That for me is a healthy way to really prep you for having a stable and budget that works for you. So yeah, I like that.
Well, and I've noticed that because I have the cash to buy it, even though I put it on the credit card and then pay off the credit card at the end of the month, my rewards points with the credit card have shot through the roof, which is more money back at the end of the year, or more money at the end of the year to use to buy Christmas presents, birthday presents. I got this stupid bar mitzvah to fund.
It's a great bar.
It's a great bar mitzvah, but I still have to fund it.
But you still got to fund it.
You don't need to impress anyone. Obviously, we're not keeping up with the Joneses. Everything in life, words are difficult sometimes. Everything in life is negotiable. Yeah,
you have options.
Yeah.
There are always options, and the powerful word that we all keep needing to say is no. No is an option when negotiating. You know what? Then it's not the right deal.
Right.
It's not that you can walk away. The power of the walk away itself is a negotiating skill.
Yeah, but you have to be prepared to walk away.
Yes, but again, you have to practice at it. A lot of people think like I can negotiate on the first try. No, it takes practice, just like anything else you do. Do it a few times to get better at it.
Yeah. So what else? Anything else that you would tell your younger self or tell your kids if you could about money?
I mean, save more, look for investments. There is risks that you need to take, but look at all when it comes to risk, you have to look at all options to make sure that you're not putting yourself in jeopardy in the future, and then just enjoy life, man. That's at the end of the day, just enjoy every day. It's always precious to be breathing every day. So
exactly. So one of the tips that we went over was save as much money as you can. Again, thank you to Magic Mind. You can save 20% if you go to magicmind.com/crushing20 and you enter the code crushing20. That will save you 20% on your first order. So again, thank you very much, Magic Mind, for being a sponsor of the show, for the great product. We both love it. We both use it. Also, you can support us even more by going to the Crushing Debt Patreon page, patreon.com/crushingdebt. You can go there, and there's all kinds of other information, other resources that are not available in the weekly podcast, that are available on the Patreon page that you can get access to. Also, big thank you to our friend and our longtime friend and sponsor, Sam Cohen with Attorneys First Insurance. If you need E&O coverage, malpractice coverage, and you are a title company or an attorney anywhere in the country, give Sam a call. I had to call him yesterday, as a matter of fact, and he literally did pick up on the first ring.
Nice.
And so he has challenged us. If you call him and he doesn't pick up on the first ring, he'll do something. He'll embarrass himself somehow, I would assume. So thank you again, Sam Cohen, for being a sponsor.
Always.
Other than that, anything else?
No, man. I appreciate you as usual. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for everything. And keep up the good work, my friend.
Keep up the good work, indeed. So we hope that at the end of the month you have more money rather than at the end of the money you have more month. And we will talk to you in next week's episode of the podcast.